So in today's lesson, we are going to build this section, the testimonial section. Let's play the preview so you can see the full behavior of this section. So right now it's just pictures. So let me click on one of these and you'll see what is happening. As you can see, we have a text layer. We have two text layers, and you can see them after you click on the image, and when you click again, the image returns. So this is what we are going to build today. I think it looks awesome. It's a nice addition to our website, and let's begin. So let's start by copying this stack right here, the top stack, and selecting our canvas and pressing Ctrl V to paste it like this. Let's add a container to place the top stack inside of. So container, and let's press Ctrl Alt T again to create the section, which we will call Testimonials. Now let's add 80 pixels of padding from each side to the testimonials section. And let's give max width of 1280 to the container stack, just like this. And let's change the heading to what my clients say about me. And let's change the max width property of the heading to 700 pixels. No, that's too much. 600 pixels is looking nice. So now what we need to do is go to the CMS screen. We can do it from right here, from this menu, or we can press Alt plus 2, the number 2. So now we are in the collection screen. So let's create a new collection by clicking this plus icon right here. And let's rename this collection Testimonials. Now let's edit the fields. So as you can see, we have title, slug, and content. So let's change title to name, and let's delete the content. Let's add an image, and now let's add a plain text field, which we will call content, and we'll click yes on text area. So to add our first item to the collection, we can click on this button right here or this icon right here. Doesn't matter which one. So let's add a name, for example, John Murdoch, and let's just say for now, let's just type, this is John's testimonial. And for the image, we can click here on the plus icon and go to plugins and select the Unsplash plugin, and let's type gradient background portrait male. And let's see what comes up. Let's use this one. And now we have our first item in our collection. So let's go back to the home page, to the canvas. We can do it by using the keyboard shortcut Alt plus 1, or we can just click right here where it says canvas. So the next thing we want to do is press F on our keyboard, click, drag, and release, and also paste it in the right place. So we will paste it inside the container stack. But inside container, let's create a new stack. Let's first select the frame and create a new stack, which we will call Testimonials. Let's change the direction of our layout inside the container to vertical, just like this. Okay, now let's select this frame and change the width to 405 pixels and the height to 450 pixels. So now let's turn this frame into a component by right-clicking it and selecting Create Component. Let's call this one Testimonial and click Create. So now the first thing we want to do here is to change variant 1 to closed, and then let's remove the background color and we'll add a frame by pressing F on our keyboard, then clicking inside closed, clicking, dragging and releasing. So we have this new frame right here. So now instead of a color, let's choose this icon right here. But for now, we're not going to choose any image. So next we are going to select the closed layer, the top layer, and let's add a layout. And now let's select our image and let's change the width and height to 100%. So now let's add our text layers. So let's press T on the keyboard and let's name our first text layer content. And let's make sure it sits right here under image, not inside image. And let's change the size to 28 pixels. And let's change the weight to semi-bold. Let's duplicate this layer, change the weight to regular, change the size to 16, and here let's change it to name instead of content. Now let's select name and content and press Ctrl Alt plus Enter to create a new stack, which we will call text. Let's change the align property to left, and let's also change the width to 100% and the height to 100%. Now let's select closed and change the distribute property to start. So let's for a second change the overflow to visible so you can see we have everything right here. Now let's select the text stack and change the distribute to space between. And now we'll go back and choose our main layer, and let's change it back. Let's change the overflow back to clip. So the next thing we're going to do is to create variables. So let's select the image and click right here where it says fill, and let's choose create variable and image. We'll call it image, just like this. And then let's select the content text layer. And from the right panel where it says content, we'll click it and we'll create a plain text variable. we'll change it to content. And yeah, let's just leave it like this. And we'll do the same process for the name layer. So we'll create a plain text, which we will call just name. And now we can create another variant by pressing Ctrl+D on our keyboard, and let's change the name to open. Now, what we're going to do here, first of all, let's go back to closed and select our text stack and change the opacity right here to 0. And let's give it some padding, 12 pixels. And now let's go to the open variant and let's switch places between the image and the text stack, just like this. And now let's change the opacity in the image to 0 and select our text stack and change it to 1 or 100%. Now, the next thing we're going to do is change the transition. So let's select our closed variant and click here on spring. And let's select physics instead of time. So let's play with it a little bit. So the stiffness will be, let's try 160. The damping, let's say 35, and the mass is 1. Now let's select the closed variant and click on this icon right here and drag it to the open variant, and let's leave the interaction on click. And again, let's do the opposite by choosing this icon and dragging the arrow to the closed variant. And let's leave the interaction on click. Let's see the preview now. So let's see what happens when I click the image. It switches to the text layers. And again, it switches to the image. So now let's go back to our home page and add the collection that we created earlier. Now let's drag our instance to the side, go to the collections menu inside the insert panel, and let's drag and drop our testimonials collection. As you can see, we have the item from our collection right here, but let's delete the image and the name. You can also delete the empty state. And now we can just place the testimonial instance inside the testimonial collection, just like this. And now we can connect what we need to connect, so we can pull the data from our collection item to our instance. So let's see how we can do it. So now let's go to the right panel, and in this area, the testimonial component area, let's click on image and then set variable and select image. And there we have our image that is pulled from our item that is in the collection in our CMS. It's pretty cool. So now let's connect our content to the content in the CMS by clicking on the content and set variable, and let's choose content. Now let's do the same for the name. So let's click on name, set variable and name. So now let's open up the preview and see what happens. Let's scroll to our section. Let's click. As you can see, we have our testimonial and the name. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to select our testimonials collection and change the layout type to grid. And let's change the width to fill. Let's also change the instance width to fill. Now, let's go back to our CMS and let's just duplicate this item right here. So we'll call it, we'll change the name to, let's say, Thomas A. Anderson. Let's change the image to portrait dark gradient male. Let's see what comes up. Let's select this one. Let's change the slug to Thomas A. Anderson. And let's change the content of the testimonial. This is Thomas's testimonial. Let's go back to our canvas. And now, as you can see, we have another image. Now, let's open up the preview, Ctrl+P, and see if everything works. Yep, everything works. As you can see, this is Thomas's testimonial, Thomas A. Anderson, and this is John's testimonial, John Murdoch. As you can see, we can connect the data from our CMS right into our components. So let's go back and let's go back to the CMS page. And instead of draft, let's change it to live. And let's duplicate this one. And let's change the name to, I don't know, J. White. Let's change the image. Again, dark background gradient portrait male. Let's see. Let's go with this one and change the name to the slug name to J. White. And let's change the status to live. Confirm. Let's go back to the canvas. Now let's change the column number to 3. Just like that. Now let's change the gap between the items in our grid to 24 and 24. Now let's open our component and let's go to the radius property and add 16 pixels of radius. Now let's hit preview and see how it looks, how everything looks. I think it looks pretty awesome. Now I will pause this video and replace the texts, and I will show you how it looks when everything is in place. Okay, I've added the testimonials, but now we have a problem, and I'll show you. And this is what it looks like. This is the testimonial. And as you can see, it cuts off right here. So let's change that. Let's fix that. Let's go to our component and let's select our content text layer and change the width to fill. Now let's open the preview and see what changed. So let's click here or here or here, whatever. And as you can see, everything is in place. And in my opinion, it looks amazing. And that is it for this lesson. I will see you in the next one.